What's good with it, good people? You are there, and we are here for another episode of Figure It Out, a show where we sit around and we just try to figure it out. And by it, I mean just talking about action figures. I'm Joe. With me are
Mike?
Tyler?
Mike and Tyler. Yeah, let's just get right into it. As far as new acquisitions, gentlemen, have you gotten anything recently?
Nothing from me since our last recording, unfortunately. It's which wasn't that long ago, but yeah, nothing fresh on my side.
I ordered a crown for Grimlock for the
Yes.
G2 that's going to come in. So
Mm.
I'm excited because I think Grimlock should have crowns.
I mean, he
So
is king, so
yeah, so hopefully the Etsy will treat me right. I haven't had an Etsy that had false advertisement, so I think we'll
yeah.
be good on that front.
Awesome. Awesome. I myself have been turned on to a website called Toy Hacks, and they have stickers for a lot of the Transformers action figures. And they just so happen to have a G2 Jazz decal set for the Studio Series 86. So that is coming in, and I'm very excited. Plus, I went ahead and got the Generation 2 Sideswipe decal set.
And you also got me the hotspot for Combiner Wars.
Hotspot, and I also picked up the Inferno because I was like, why not?
Dang.
So
Nice.
there's that, and just recently Hasbro announced the Spinister and Top Spin 2-pack, and Top Spin is one of the Autobot twins. And once I saw him, I was like, oh man, I think I'm gonna have to get Twin Twist 2, which has been
Cool.
out for a while, but I've always kind of slept on it. But recently had to track it down. Fortunately for me, our friends over at Fan Fortress up in Tulsa, they had it and hooked me up. So that'll be here in my hands by the time this episode airs, and I'm
You
looking
also
real
went
forward
ham
to
on
it.
pre-orders this week.
Did yeah.
They announced
That's
that new Jazz.
I mean it's the same jazz as before, but this time I get to just like have more of them. Plus I bought two for my boys, so that's gonna
Also, the white seemed whiter. It seemed like really
yeah.
bright.
I'm hoping. I just want it to stay that way. I don't because the first one I bought, it's already looking a little kind of dingy, and it makes me sad. But I'm sure I could just wash it.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Also, the Gambit Age of Apocalypse we both pre-ordered.
yeah, I have the full Age of Apocalypse set, and I'm really excited to add to that.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of Fan Fortress, we need to get back to Tulsa sometime. I feel like we're due for Tulsa.
Yes. I'm also in the mood for Oklahoma Joe's as well.
Yeah.
for sure. So for those of you who don't know, whenever we do action fig hunts in the Tulsa area, we usually start off at Fan Fortress and then wind up over at Oklahoma Joe's. We used to do it the other way around, but we discovered that if we go to Fan Fortress first, we can kind of take a scouting report, see what they have,
Yeah.
and if we don't buy something, we go eat at Oklahoma Joe's across the street. And if we make it through lunch or dinner, and we're still talking and thinking about that thing, we always just hop back across the street and go pick it up.
Yeah, we call it the lament of the action figure. Our mom used to tell us, make sure this is what you want and that it's not going to be junk at the bottom of the toy box.
Mm-hmm.
So we learned that, especially Joe and I, we learned that, man, we need like a stop in Tulsa that we can prevent the lament of the action figure.
Yeah. Just because, and I'll even ask them. We'll ask each other. It's like if I have something, it's like, oh man, this is so cool. And especially if it's something he hasn't heard me like obsess over for the past month and a half, he'll ask me just like, "Are you sure that's not just junk in the bottom of the toy box?"
Usually it goes the other way. Usually we're hyping each other up, especially us with Tyler.
Yeah.
You know, for example, the Alley Viper classified series.
Yeah, that started a bit of an avalanche.
This is just the second episode, and I was trying to paint a picture of how responsible that we were. But
Yeah.
Nah,
clearly,
man, we hype each other up. We
yeah,
definitely
it's
do.
more fun that way. It's way more fun that way.
Like
But
every time there's been a big purchase, we've offered to help Tyler carry it out.
mhm.
I don't think we've ever tried to negotiate you not buying something.
I swear. At this point, I think we're just gonna invest in an Elvis cape, so that the next time he drops money on a big purchase, we just throw the drape over him, and whenever we go back to the car, somebody will just yell out into the toy store, "Tyler has left the building."
That's sad. Maybe not sad, but scary and true.
But I mean,
Yeah,
it makes
feels
sense because you're
feels.
the vehicle guy, right?
I am. Yeah,
I'm the action figure guy that likes stuff to sit on my wall. So you're naturally gonna spend more money than I.
and space, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
space is probably more of a problem at this point than the finances are. Not that they're not important, but man, running out of room for awesome stuff. But you know, the right awesome stuff will find some more room. We just the way it is.
Heck
That's a
yeah.
very economical take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's just hop in. This episode is called White Whales and Wish Lists, and it's just kind of us sitting down and trying to put words to thoughts as far as the stuff that we see in our dreams and that makes sense to us. However, sadly, is nowhere near production. So I would we've got a few topics on hand. Let's go ahead and start with video games.
Video games. Okay.
So as far as video game action figures that we would like to see, uh, I am I would love. So I collect Halo. I collect the Spartan collection, the 6 inch or the 6.5 inch wave, and also I think it was called the World of Halo, which was like the 4 inch, like 3 3/4 guys. And I really love those because they had a bunch of Spartans. They had even just like some regular Marines, and they also had vehicles. I've got a Warthog, and it's sitting on display, and I just love it. And my wish list for that product line it's got to be a Pelican. Like how like Halo is how old, and we've yet to get a proper action figure Pelican outside of the Mega Blocks,
Yep.
and I think that's travesty.
Yeah, we talked about this before the show. Like that's right there with you. We need a Pelican. We need a good Pelican done correctly. It's crazy that we don't have that. I remember going back and playing Halo 1, playing Halo 2, and just thinking, man, I want to get my hands on a freaking Pelican. Like I want one of these things to sit out and display and enjoy. And it really surprises me that we don't have that. It's just such an iconic Halo
Mhm.
vehicle, and so key. Faux hammer, dude. I mean, how key is that to the story? Like, why do we not have this? I don't understand.
Shout out to Echo 419.
That's
Like,
right.
you know her motto, she delivers. So yeah, that would be awesome. I was thinking like if they did a Pelican that you could do similar to what they did with the Dragonfly HasLab, where just include just a bunch of decal sheets and
Yep.
let people just customize it. And you can't tell me that they couldn't mock up action figure of Faux Hammer and include her in with the Pelican
No doubt.
with
No
and
doubt.
put the Echo 419 decals all over it. Like I think that
No
would just
doubt.
be super cool.
I,
You could
I
also
want
do the
that all day.
pilot from Halo Infinite, but regardless, just give give me a Pelican.
Give us both. Give us a generic pilot from Infinite, but I mean, if you're gonna do it, give us faux hammer. I mean,
And if
come
you
on.
wanted to get fancy with it, you could also do a special battle damaged Pelican and include Carter from Halo
Yep.
Reach.
Yep.
And you can put a bunch of like blast effects or fire effects with it, and that would be really cool.
Chef's kiss on that. That'd be great.
And staying in Halo, my also on my wish list is, I mean, there's a Warthog, there's Pelican, we got to have a Scorpion. Just it baffles me that we don't have one similar with the Pelican, but I mean,
I'm right there with you. I mean, one of the coolest sci-fi tanks ever made is the Scorpion. I mean, just a really cool model, really cool design. And again, why don't we have this? Like, it's, I think all of us, as we look back in our memories of playing Halo, which is a very memorable game, called a franchise, right? When you hop in the Scorpion and you go start wrecking stuff like that, it feels good.
yeah.
It feels really good. It leaves an impression. Those are the kinds of things that, to me, I mean, you're just leaving money on the table not building that. Why not? Give us that. I mean, goodness.
And also, just thanks to Red versus Blue, like if like all I have to say is Sheila, and the elder millennials and people who were on the internet in the early 2000s know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
With from Red versus Blue, it just makes too much sense. So clearly and obviously, we're never going to get it. But I being poor have only my dreams. Tread lightly, you tread on my dreams. So, what about any of y'all? Y'all got any video game properties that you would like to see action figures from? Maybe from a world called Azeroth. Is that where we're headed next?
I think we can go there. So the DC Direct line was really good. I enjoyed it a lot, but they stopped doing that a while ago, and there really hasn't been NPCs that have been done, like well-known NPCs, like a Tyrion Fordring figure or Anduin Wren. Like, I want a Varian Wren that was in that Legion trailer where he went hard and before he died. Like a Scarlet Crusade set with Sally Whitemane and Talon Fordring. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that they could really dive into, and I think they're just leaving money on the table. Like, there was a line that had like an Arthas, and I mean, it was a good figure, and McFarlane is doing stuff right now, but his model is like getting loot, like epic, rare, things like that, and there's just no real heroes out right now. With War Within, like a Illyria Windrunner or a Khadgar, or even in an enemy like Xalatath. So I think they should do a Warcraft line. I would go ham, especially with that Varian Wren.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Darian Mograine as well. I don't think anybody's made a Darian Mograine. Right?
I have on my list. Give me the Ashbringer 3-pack. The Alexandros, Darian, and Renault.
Yep.
And then you could even put the graphic novel in there.
I'm also a sucker because like I have twin boys, so like that just calls to me as well. But also I love the story of the Ashbringer.
Yeah.
And also as a Paladin main, it's basically just mandatory reading.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Also, I would. I mean, Mike knows me. I'm such a Uther the Lightbringer guy that if I had an action figure that was like a proper Uther, I'd be just so happy and content.
And like, packaging matters to me because I'm a mint in box guy. I don't like the idea of having generic figures that people could say, hey, it looks like it. I want the packaging that says, hey, this is this character. I can turn over on the other side and I can, read a short little blurb about him. Because as a kid, that's what you did, like the G.I. Joe and the file cards.
Mhm.
Like, packaging matters for us mint in box guys, and generic simply won't work. For example, the Marvel Legends Build-A-Figure Colossus Age of Apocalypse. Like, it'd be nice to have it, but I would like it in its own packaging because, like I said, mint in box guys like that. That's my input anyway.
That's fair. I think that's absolutely fair.
Yeah.
Um, if I would love to see a action figure line based on characters that appear in WoW Classic, or even going as far back to like the original like real time strategy game Warcraft games, because I know there's a huge subset of Warcraft fans who they absolutely play Warcraft 3, and
Like
they
Karn, Rexar, like
yeah,
the OGs.
and and then they dipped their toe in World of Warcraft, but it ultimately wasn't for them. But they still love that world. They still love the
Yeah.
characters. They still love the lore. I think that would be a perfect way to just kind of throw them a bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any video game properties?
Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I got a few. I'll give you guys one, and I'm gonna reach into the archives here, guys. So I don't know, depending on how old you are, maybe this is familiar to you, maybe it's not. We're looking at Star Wars here, and there's a video game for Star Wars that was called Dark Forces 2, aka Jedi Knight.
Mhm.
There is a hero in that video game. His name is Kyle Katarn. If you're looking at, I'm a Sith guy, let me be clear. But if I have to pick a favorite Jedi, it's Kyle Katarn. That's my guy. And his ship in that video game is called the Moldy Crow.
I thought it was the
Um,
Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw is in Jedi Knight 2, which is also on my list. But he's the Moldy Crow in Jedi Knight 1. That ship gets destroyed or crashes is one of the cutscenes of that game. And then when he comes back in Jedi Knight 2, which is Dark Forces 3, that's when he has the Raven's Claw. So, and I think the Raven's Claw is actually Luke gives him the Raven's Claw, if memory serves. So also a really cool ship. Raven's Claw is a more modern, sleek-looking version and the Moldy Crow is kind of it doesn't look anything like the Millennium Falcon, but think older ship, kind of beat up. It looks like these guys are kind of piecing things together and just barely
Original
getting by.
trilogy aesthetic.
Correct.
Yep.
Exactly. That's well stated. Well stated. So, I'd love to see that. It's a fairly large ship, not as big as the Ghost, not as big as the Millennium Falcon. I think it would have to be a HasLab ship. I think it's extremely unlikely that we will ever get this because those games, they have been remastered and they're phenomenal video game. Like, they're amazing games. Like the Dark Forces games, Jedi Knight, Jedi Knight 2, Jedi Academy, like amazing games. Were well worth playing, but I just don't think they're popular enough now for them to ever circle back and give us that ship. And I'm not sure that ship was popular enough even back then. But for me, I really love it because that game was amazing, and I love the ships. I'm a vehicle guy, so give me a good Kyle Katarn figure to go with that. I'm trying to think of this is terrible of me, but I can't think of the gal's name that's his pilot that ends up doing all the flying for him. But I'd love to have her as well. Yeah, I'd love to get that. I love that game series, and it's such a cool looking ship. Anyway, but yeah, so that's one for me.
I think her name is Jan Ors.
Jan Ors, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was
Sticking
thinking
with Star Wars, I'm gonna go to Battlefront 2.
Okay. Do we want to go ahead and just segue into the Star Wars section?
It's okay with me.
And I'll kick us off with this Battlefront 2 list. A Vintage Collection Inferno Squad. Just when they were Inferno Squad with the Vintage Collection packaging. Iden post changing sides.
Slight
I like a
spoiler
Black
alert.
Series. Then again, it's an older game, and if you haven't
Yeah, I
played it,
mean,
I
if
don't feel
you haven't
bad
played
for
by
you.
now, like, listen, it's not. I was more cringing because I much prefer her before she changes because I'm an Empire guy. So, but give me both. Give us one of each, please,
Yeah,
because
Del Minko post change, Leia. There's a level with Leia, and she actually gets like something outside of the original trilogy decor. Um, there's a DLC with Iden and Husk, and of course Shriv. You gotta have Shriv. He was kind of the equivalent of the Chewie. So that's my input
yeah,
for
Inferno
Battlefront
Squad
2.
in general, what a cool group of folks. What a neat concept, and the fact that we don't have that kind of blows my mind. Vintage Collection has a lot of stuff that, at least in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but in my opinion, would be less popular than that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I wonder if it's a licensing issue.
you think? Maybe it is.
But I
don't know.
mean, they've made Black Series Inferno Squad. It's just I don't know how the molds would be.
I mean,
I don't know.
don't do this, but I mean, it's not that different from repainting a TIE fighter pilot. The helmets are the same. So
Yeah, and Hera, very similar pants.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I don't think it'd be impossible.
Y'all looking to do some kit bashing?
Nah, man, I like packaging too much.
Ah.
I mean, you can kit bash and still keep the package.
Yeah.
I mean, you have
can.
proof of that on your wall.
I do, but I didn't do it.
Fair. Fair.
The most creative stuff I do is I get Etsy stuff. I leave all that other stuff to you.
That's still creative. That's still creative. Yeah, Inferno Squad would definitely be cool. The Operation Cinder level was really
oh,
that was.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that they didn't try to make that into a TV series.
Well, you're right. Like that should have been. They did reference it in Mandalorian, which I thought was great with Bill Burr. And I thought that was excellent that they're tying in pieces of that lore to that show. I love that stuff. So at least they mentioned it there. But you're right. Like that could easily be a little mini series on its own. What a crazy deal.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens whenever the people writing the stuff actually know the lore about the things that they're writing
and care about it.
Yeah.
They want that to factor and play in. It makes a huge difference. I mean, a monumental difference.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna keep us in that special and everybody's favorite galaxy far, far away. I've got 2 HasLab projects. They are
wow. Let's hear 'em.
They are passion projects. They are also low key everything I love about Star Wars. So first one, going back to like bringing it back to video games. Vintage Collection, Ebon Hawk HasLab.
Yes.
And they already released a Darth Revan. They've even released a Jedi Knight Revan from the gaming greats from the Star Wars mobile game. They even include a HK-47
meat bags.
So, Ebon Hawk HasLab with stretch goals including Canderous Ordo, Jolie Bendo, T3M4, and Carthanasi.
Yeah. I mean, it's on my list. I knew it was on your list. I wasn't going to bring it up because I know that you were gonna come after that. And I mean, yeah, exactly. Like, give me all of that all day long. That is KOTOR is my all-time favorite game. All-time favorite computer game or video game. Like that's it for me. That is number one on the list. Has been since I played it for the first time. Never beaten, never threatened. Like that is my favorite video game.
The trailers are really good too.
It's fantastic.
It works as a video game. It works as a interactive book. It just works. It works even as a tabletop because they base the gameplay off of Dungeons and Dragons. Like a lightsaber is a D8 roll. Like it just works in every capacity. It works to an extent that I remember playing it, and my cousin, who was about a year or so younger than me, and he was playing it, and he was ahead of me, and he spoiled the big Act 3
Oh no.
thing. And it was one of those things where like he told me what had happened, and I was like, oh, I don't think I've done that. Like I don't think I made those choices for that to happen.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like your playthrough is broken. Like I'm I don't have to worry about that because I'm playing light side. And it turns out that didn't
Surprise.
matter.
Yep.
So, but it gave it such a much more interesting layer
Yeah.
to like, okay, so, and for those of you who haven't played it, again, it's over 20 years old now. Come to find out, the character you made at the beginning and that you played through for 3 acts of this video game, that you've probably sunk maybe anywhere from 10 to about 20 hours or so. You realize, like, you learn that you are in fact the big bad Sith from that everybody's talking about. And if you're playing light side like I was, then it's a true testament to the power of redemption and the forces, and grace of the force to like raise you up and redeem you so that you can serve, better serve the galaxy. And it was just so well done that I think a HasLab of the Ebon Hawk, which, I mean, come on, Millennium Falcon, Black Hawk, like that just writes itself. Like it's familiar, but it's also its own thing. It doesn't try to be a carbon copy of the Falcon, but it feels familiar. Like
Yep.
it feels lived in. It feels like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so that would be one of mine. And the second one, and I would forego any claim to any of these other things if I could have this one. And it's a vintage collection Outrider HasLab.
Mm-hmm.
You like, because the Ghost just came out, and I've seen like the older Falcons that they've came out with. Like you can't sit there with a straight face and tell me that it's impossible.
Oh.
You can't.
Absolutely doable. And also, again, that's on my list too. I knew that this was big for you, and I wanted you to be the one to bring it up. You know, what an amazing ship. What an amazing, again, tying back into Shadows of the Empire, which is, I mean, there's a series of novels too, but it's also a video game on I played it on Nintendo 64, but great game, great story, great characters, amazing ship. This one was popular enough for them to build an Outrider and release it, as a toy. But
I
it
have it.
and you do have it, and I do not want to insult anything that you own.
I know, but however, as much as I have it and I played with the thing, like, and as I love it, it still holds a piece of my heart. I understand, and it's very clearly a reworked, like a retooled B-wing.
Yeah.
And that was not what the Outrider. That was not the design of the Outrider. That was not the intent of the Outrider. It's just they had to get toys out by Christmas, essentially. And they're
Would
like,
you be
well,
okay with the Black Series?
gosh, Black Series would be too big. Although I am excited that, and I had on my list the Black Series Shadows of the Empire line, but thankfully Hasbro's coming out with that, so I was able to take that off
Yeah.
my list.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that. But I want a Hasrider Outrider HasLab.
HasLab.
See, I'm so excited. I'm tripping over my words. Outrider HasLab included with Dash Rendar, Lebo, his droid. This is kind of a deeper cut. Koth Milan, and he's from the novelization. He's the Bothan spy master who helps lead the assault on the Saprosa. I think this is the Imperial frigate to steal the Death Star 2 plans.
Yep.
So the line, many Bothans died for this information. Like, he was one of them. and the Luke Skywalker from the novel cover with it's just like him in the black, but with like the tan like vest and his lightsaber. Those are the figures. That's the HasLab. Otherwise, AKA a license to print money from kids like me who grew up in the 90s.
Yeah.
Sticking with Star Wars and shifting gears out of video games, like I said, I'm a Clone Wars guy, and there's a couple figures that I would like. I know Pong Krell has been said 1,000 times.
Boo.
Yeah, he was a bad guy that really was good at getting a lot of heat, and clones kind of self-policed him, which was cool. You know, they can make it a deluxe, make it a nice, stout figure like he was, and then with 2 double-bladed lightsabers, like that's just scary looking in itself.
He was like the character who he does. It's funny because he's very much of Star Wars, but his mindset and rationale and just scheming connivingness, like I would have thought that he was a transplant from Game of Thrones. And
Yeah.
it's just it's like one of those things where it's like he clearly doesn't belong, and it's but that works for the story,
Yeah,
and it was terrifying, man. Oof.
he was definitely scary. Another one is, I've said it 1,000 times, Pajama Dooku from season 3, episode 12, The Night Sisters. Like when Asajj and her crew go in there, and Dooku is just sleeping, and he wakes up, and he beats all of them up with, just wearing his pajamas. Like that was so cool looking, and maybe they could give some soft goods to the figure just to kind of give a chef's kiss on it. But it was another one of those where the Night Sisters were scary, but Dooku was just on another level, and it was really important to get him over as, a bad guy. And it explained later on Asajj's arc.
Yep.
Really good episode. And I'm going to lead into the Asajj wish list because I got a lot of stuff. So Asajj has her own arc. She began in the Clone Wars, and then we saw her in the Bad Batch recently, so that'd be another cool figure. Also, a novel was written by Christy Golden called Dark Disciple. It was about her and Quinlan Voss. They could do like a cool 2-pack with that. That would be really cool for Asajj. And the last one that I have for Star Wars is Gunji from the Bad Batch episode, season 2, episode 6, The Tribe. That'd be really cool. We all know I like Chewie's my favorite character. Wookiees seem like they're just an unselfish race, and they're cool. I really like Wookiees.
So you were saying something. You're talking about Quinlan Voss. Who is Quinlan Voss? Just for some of the folks who might not be familiar with Star Wars.
He is a Jedi that always went by his own way. And he had a green lightsaber, which means he was more connected than to the Force. Sorry, he was more connected to the Force than he was the Order. So, much like Qui-Gon and Yoda. But during the Clone Wars, he was the X Factor. He was the Jedi that showed up late. And I don't want to spoil the book, but he's sent undercover to essentially insert himself into Asajj's crew, and wackiness ensues. Yeah, Quinlan Voss would be cool. Because he was in a few episodes of the Clone Wars also.
Yeah, so the green saber, that's the consulars, is that correct? The Jedi consulars, that's kind of how they. I think there's. I don't know if Disney has kept this consistent or not, but if you go back into the deep lore, the old magic, if you will, the saber colors that a Jedi Knight wielded told you something about their role within the Jedi Order. So like the blue was the Guardians, the green was the Consulars, the
Yellow were the Sentinels.
Yellow Sentinels. Yes, very underrepresented organization of the Jedi, by the way. So anyway, sorry, I digress.
Going back to Gunji, he was very connected to the Force also.
I'm noticing a pattern.
Yeah. Because, there's a lot of folks with blue lightsabers out there, right? So that's my Star Wars list. What do you guys got?
I have more on mine. I don't know, Joe, if you do, but I'll run through a couple real quick. I say real quick, it probably won't be real quick. We'll see. I want a vintage collection. So you're going to notice, again, I'm a vehicle guy, and vintage collection for me represents kind of the peak vehicle toy technology. No play gimmicks, no spring-loaded missiles, none of that Mickey Mouse crap. I don't want that stuff. If I want a missile to shoot, I'll take it out with my finger and I'll make it go where I want it to go. If you want to give me some effects like some fire or something like that, that's great. I'm all for that. But don't give me spring-loaded nonsense. So, vintage collection, TIE Defender.
Yes.
Big time. I'm an Empire guy. Love Star Wars. Huge Star Wars fan. Definitely favor the Empire. TIE Defender. One of the coolest TIE fighters ever conceived, ever built. Just a really great piece of machinery, and something we don't have. We don't have anything close to it. We have regular TIE fighters. We have TIE interceptors. We have Vader's TIE fighter, which, TIE Advanced is Vader's TIE fighter. We have all of those, but we don't have a TIE Defender. Great ship. Popular in Legends lore, which is where my Star Wars heart lives, but also popular and brought back into the fore with Rebels in the TV show, the cartoon show, and it ties in closely to Thrawn, who is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. So I want that ship, and I really would love to see them make that, and it's very doable. It's very doable. I mean, the TIE Defender, if you don't know what it is, picture a TIE Interceptor with 3 solar panels instead of 2, and just flip them over. So instead of curving in, they curve out, and it's 3 of those. Like, this is a very doable ship. So hopefully one day we'll see something like that, but who knows if we will. Next on my list for Star Wars, staying with Star Wars vehicles, and I realized that somebody has made one of these, but I'm gonna be real honest with you, they did not do it correctly. That's a U-wing. We need a proper vintage collection, correctly scaled, correctly detailed U-wing. The U-wing is a troop transport, right? I mean, it's a side-by-side cockpit. You got 2, pilot, co-pilot. You have some space behind them, and then you have room to transport troops. The U-wing that we got fits like 1 pilot. There's no cargo space. There's none of that stuff. It's a cool-looking ship. It serves a fantastic role as it's a transport. It has weaponry if it needs to fight. It's great at being a gunship to support troops on the ground. Like, this is, potential for some really great play and just really good model and an opportunity to really do something correctly. I don't think that the U-wing is big enough, if done correctly, that it has to be HasLab, but I do think it's big enough that it could be HasLab.
The U-Wing is the thing in Rogue One, right?
Correct. That's the ship in Rogue One that Andor's flying around. That the team is flying around in. That's that. The transport, and then you'll see it again at the end of Rogue One when it comes into the Scarif base and they're flying in the rebel troops. So yeah, that is the U-Wing. Correct.
Man, that's so cool.
It's we need a proper one. The one we got, and I understand they're designing toys for kids, but it kind of on the U-Wing, it kind of blows my mind because Rogue One is not a kids movie. If you go back and think about that movie, like that is very clearly geared at the Star Wars fans who are now adults. Like that is not a kids. It's not meant for kids. So why are we dropping toys out of that thing that are meant for kids? So anyway, I think we deserve a much better U-Wing, and it's something they ought to do because I do think it'd be pretty popular. The last ship I'll put on my list for Star Wars, because I could talk about this, guys. I could go all day on this.
We should have just probably made this an entire Star Wars episode.
It could have been easily. The last thing on my list is something we have not received yet, and it's Z95 Headhunter. I want a vintage collection Z95 Headhunter. If you don't know what that is, you ought to look it up. It's a cool ship. It's the bridge kind of between the ARC 170 and the X-Wing. It kind of sits in the middle.
It was in fact a precursor to the X-Wing.
Yes. Really cool ship. Very popular in terms of Star Wars lore, used by many different people. The clones used them for a while. Different planetary defense forces used them for a while. They became very popular with pirates and other groups who like to live on the outside of the law. Just a really cool looking and iconic Star Wars ship. And we have nothing in the Z95 Headhunter. I mean, I know the X-Wing miniatures game had Z95 Headhunters. I don't know if Micro Squadrons has one. I haven't seen it, but I haven't seen it anywhere other than the Armada game and the X-Wing miniatures games. The only two places I've seen it represented. It's such a cool ship, and it's a shame that we're missing it. And I'll close out my Star Wars section with a couple figures that we don't have. One is the vintage collection.
Oh, nice.
Give me the new Jedi. Yeah, I know. Mike is. Hey, the vehicle guys want some figures. That's cool.
All the figures I wanted, I included with my vehicles.
Right. Yeah. Give me the new Jedi Order Jedi from the new Jedi Order book series, which again, one of my all-time favorite Star Wars book series. Give me give me the Mara and the Luke from that series. Obviously, give me the Han. Give me the YVH droids, please. Give me Jaina and Jason Solo. Give me Ben Skywalker. Give me, or Ben Solo, excuse me. Give me those characters in vintage collection. Figures. I would love to have that. You can throw some Yuzong Wong in there too if you want to. That'd be great. But I don't have to have the Yuzong Wong. I can live without them.
Wait, in Legends, was there Ben Solo?
It was Ben Skywalker.
Yeah, it was Ben Skywalker.
Ben Skywalker. Yeah.
It was Jason, Jaina, and Anakin Solo.
Anakin. Yeah. There you go, Anakin. That's correct. So yes, thank you for that. Great series. I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that hasn't read it yet. Give me that, like, please. And the last thing on my list for Star Wars, and then I promise we can stop and move on to something else. I want a vintage collection of Soontir Fel. If you don't know Baron Soontir Fel, he's a pilot for the Empire, probably the most prolific fighter in the Empire. He is known for many things, but one of the things that he did was take over a squadron, the 181st Imperial Fighter Squadron, which was nicknamed the 180 Worst because they were terrible. He comes in, takes them over, trains them up. They become the elite number one best squadron in the entire Empire in terms of TIE fighter squadrons. And once you got into that squadron and earned your place, you got the blood stripe on your TIE fighter. So if you ever see a TIE Interceptor with that red stripe on it, that's what that means. That's the 181st Imperial Fighter Wing. That's because Soontir Fel turned those guys around and turned them from a total joke into the elite unit in the Empire. great lore, great story. And his son, by the way, Jagged Fell, is a big features pretty big into the new Jedi Order. So again, probably too deep a cut for anything that we'll ever see, but so good, love it.
That's what's up. Okay, moving on. Let's switch it up. We've done video games, we've done Star Wars. Let's jump to comic books now.
Okay.
Now, I really don't like I just have a little pinky toe into the comic book action figure realm. But what
Same.
I would like to see would be a Marvel Legends wave where they do the kind of similar to how Hasbro does with the gaming greats. I want to see a Marvel Legends gaming greats X-Men Legends wave. They're teasing me with the Wolverine that they just released, that with the same black and yellow costume. They shouldn't have teased me, because now I want everybody. I want everybody now.
Yeah.
Like, that is still like the coolest design for Beast
Yeah.
I've ever seen. And just like the black and yellow, like it still held true with like the 90s blue and yellow, but they kind of brought it into the new millennium, but without, like, they kept it cool, but it's also stylized modern for that time, and I think it just really worked. And I think if they did that wave, they could do a Build-A-Figure Sentinel that they've already done,
Yes,
because there's
beautiful.
a few sequences in the first X-Men Legends game where you actually play a flashback, and whenever you're playing the flashback, you're fighting the cartoon-looking Sentinels. And I think that they could do those to get some more mileage out of those molds.
Yeah, and listen, the Build-A-Figure Sentinel. First of all, I'm a huge Sentinel guy. Like, you want to know who my favorite X-Man is? It's a freaking Sentinels. That's my jam. Giant robots. I'm in. I'm there. I'm here for that. The current Build-A-Figure Sentinel that they did, I don't know. It's been over a decade ago. It's been quite a while ago. It's outstanding. The mold is great. I apologize if you guys can hear my dog singing the song of his people. He really wants to participate with us here. But that mold is phenomenal. It's only been used the one time. I don't know why. That Sentinel is great. Give me that Sentinel with your X-Men Legends, with your X-Men characters. But give me the paint scheme from the cartoon and the 90s cartoon. Like, give me that cartoon paint scheme on the Sentinel. And if I can ask for one more thing, and then I'll stop asking about anything in comic books, give me two options for every component. One option that's regular like it normally is, and the other option battle damaged. If I could get those things, I'll buy every one of those figures multiple times to build multiple Sentinels. Like, here's my commitment to you, Hasbro. I'll buy a bunch of that stuff. Please do this.
We've seen your commitment to G.I. Joe, and we know that you are not bluffing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just a couple fig hunts ago, we're walking through one of our Toy Base 10, one of our little honey holes that we go tap into for fig hunts. And, yeah, shout out to Toy Base 10.
Yeah.
Great dude runs that place. And there was a Plasma Series Ghostbuster sitting on the wall, and I think I was looking at Joe, and I said, if they would just give me an Ecto 1 in that scale with those figures and that detail, I would buy that in a heartbeat. And I'll be darned if, like, I don't know, what was it, like 2 or 3 weeks later?
It was all pert near imminent.
Like, it was real close, and boom, HasLab drops, and I'm like, man, that manifested. That was wonderful. I wish I could do that with other things in my life. But we got it, and I bought 2 of them, Hasbro, so I'm not kidding you. Do this thing with the Sentinels. I'm in. Okay, I'm done. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's what I want. I want an X-Men Legends wave.
I would like Marvel Legends X-Men Evolution line.
Ooh.
And they can do a build a figure of that Sentinel, or because that one looked scary, like it looked a little bit older.
I'll buy those two, Hasbro.
I don't know. I think for that you could. I think for that you could get away with like a Juggernaut build a figure.
Yeah,
I like Juggernaut too.
But I'd like, man, those figures would look cool, like the Sabretooth, that different look, Nightcrawler, Cyclops, Jean Grey, like the good X-Men, but man, that X-Men Evolution style, that animation was cool. That cartoon was way better than it should have been. It was a really good cartoon. Also, the X-Force Colossus and X-Force Domino. I forget the name of the run, but it was the black and orange Colossus. I also like that comic book run because he learned to kind of relax and have a little fun, and that's something he really needed.
That was the Cable and the X-Force 2013 through 2014 run.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. They had a really good team on that. I'd like to see that whole wave too. Because you could do Colossus, Forge, Domino, Cable, Hope.
Are you guys good with moving on from Marvel Legends figures?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, McFarlane.
I got a DC thing.
I do have a list of Marvel Legends over here, but it's just basically like Sentinel, 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 Sentinel.
Punisher.
So Punisher, Ghost Rider, Sentinel, Sentinel, Sentinel. Yeah.
Also, there's not enough Daredevils. There's not enough.
No,
they don't
there's
make
not.
enough Daredevils.
Could always be more.
There's not. So I know McFarlane doesn't do HasLabs, but I would really like a huge scale Trigon that would come with a white version of Raven. It would go back to the episode of Teen Titans, and even in the DC animated universe, where Trigon was just gigantic. I mean, in the animated universe, he was just so powerful that they unleashed him just so he could take care of Darkseid, because Darkseid had taken over. Like, I would like a huge Trigon, and then a white Raven. The only one I've seen in person, and I'm, don't quote me. They probably made a white Raven before, maybe in the DC Unlimited version, but I've only seen one in the Teen Titans version, and it's nice, but I would like a nice McFarlane version of the White Raven and a huge Trigon, because I've seen some of the bigger McFarlane figures like Killer Croc and Swamp Thing. They're just too small. Like, Trigon would need to be gigantic and it would need to come in a really cool box.
Well, it'd have to come in a cool box, right? Because you're not going to take it out, so the box better be cool.
This is true. But if you put in a Raven, a white Raven, I would definitely be tempted to open it up. Because I'm tempted to open up the Ghost because I would like to have the figures inside.
I mean, you could always just buy two. That's how they get you.
I could do that too.
You could. Now listen, I'm not saying you need to do this, and I'm certainly not saying you need to do this anytime soon. But you could open the Ghost and claim your figures, which would be in the packaging, I believe, right? They gave them all card backs and everything,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And if you decided that, you know what, I'm not a vehicle guy, and it's open anyway, so it's not for me. I know someone who didn't back that and kind of regrets it.
Well, in that person's defense, I don't think they were collecting again.
Yeah. at that time.
at
Probably
that
not.
time.
Although I spoiler alert, I'm talking about me.
We know.
Yeah, I did get the Razor Crest, so it's not. I wasn't ignorant to HasLab at that time. I missed out on the Sentinel and had to pay a bit of a premium to get that on the back end, and now I'm like, it's too big. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but McFarlane Production, he hasn't had to do a HasLab yet for anything he's made.
Well, so he's done Kickstarters for his Spawn figures, but I was actually doing a bit of research, and there is something called the McFarlane Collectors Club drawing board, where the little tagline is turning concept into reality, and it says, "Our crowdfunding platform helps bring fan and artist-inspired figures to production." So a collectors club drawing board, crowdfunding Trigon. I mean, I think there could be something to that.
Yeah, Teen Titans, Young Justice, Titans, whichever version you want to call it. Trigon always played a big part in that series. Also, Raven is a pretty interesting character and one of my favorites. So that'd be like a twofer.
We're moving right along. Let's go ahead and let's take this list and let's go fight some Cobra with it. GI Joes. Tyler.
My body's ready. Yeah, look, I had to. It was the hardest part about making this list for me was cutting it down to something that could fit on a podcast that somebody might sit and watch. Because I mean,
do you have any figures, or is it all just vehicles?
I mean, the vehicles have some figures in them, and I have specifically specified some figures in the vehicles, but all of my GI Joe characters are the figures that I want are coming with vehicles.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry, no standalones this time. I'll start it out with a hot take. Can I do a hot take? Can we drop a hot take here? Is that okay?
Hot take, Tyler.
Listen,
this is your hot take.
I want to see a Mobat Mark II. That's the GI Joe tank, and I want Mobat is a motorized battle tank. Hot take. I hate the first Mobat. I hate the original Mobat. I am a GI Joe vehicle guy to the core, and I freaking hate the original Mobat. We could talk about this all day. The original Mobat is based on a concept tank that was co-engineered by the United States and West Germany. Obviously, during the early stages of the Cold War, it was called the MBT-70. That tank was, I think, it was designed in like the 50s and 60s. Like, we're talking about old technology. By the time the comic books, by the time Larry wrote the comic books, by the time the toy drops, the Abrams existed. The Abrams is a beautiful tank. It is an amazing looking tank. It is a cool tank, still in service today. Give me a Mobat 2, base it off of the Abrams tank. Skip that Mobat 1 nonsense. Do not motorize that. Do not make it battery powered. Please cut that nonsense out. If I want my tank to move down the road, I will do it with these hands. Okay? I'll put my tank where I want to put it. Don't make me fight an electric motor to move something down the road. I don't want any part of that. I don't like those gimmicks. Not for me. So give me a Mobat Mark II. Base it on the M1 Abrams. What a cool toy. Obviously we're talking about 3.5 inch figure here. And do it in a I'm gonna steal a paradigm from Star Wars and say do it in a vintage collection style. So do the scale correctly, do the detail correctly, like do it right. I'm here for it. I would have multiple of those if it existed. So that's my first one.
Would that work in a classified size, you think?
Yeah, I think it would. I personally, you guys know you got me. You got the daggum Alley Viper classified. Got me. Sent me tumbling down that mountain.
I'd like to think that Hasbro's excellent work on classified got you.
Nah, man,
Yeah.
we were straight up toxic, dude.
Yeah, y'all.
Listen,
We were
is it
I think
really
it was.
is it really toxic if it's in your friend's best interest?
Yeah. Look, I love it. I'm very happy with it. But damn it, like, oh shoot, I'm sorry.
You cut a
Bleep me
promo
out.
saying how much you love the Alley Viper. Next thing you know, I'm looking at an Alley Viper.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Mike's
had to
like, look
cut
at
a
this.
promo.
Yeah, it was like, oh gosh, I'm hosed. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, I'm screwed. Like that's the first thing that came in my mind is like, I'm screwed. This is gonna we're going down that hill. So the answer to your question is yes, it would work in classified. I would prefer it in a 3.5 inch if for no other reason it takes up less space. And
Would
I
you
want
still
it to
buy
go
it?
with yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, I would. Yeah. Number 2 for me, Cobra Rage Mark II. If you don't know what the Cobra Rage is, again, 3 3/4 inch, right? The Cobra Rage is it's a tank. It's a Cobra tank. It's not the Hiss. The Hiss to me has always been more of a light tank transport type of vehicle. The Rage 2 is actually a tank, very low to the ground, very flat vehicle with a little gun on top. Um, fun design. I have the toy. I still have my original Cobra Rage. I enjoyed it. Um, you know, there were some gimmicks on that. No play gimmicks, but like the gunner sat on top of the cannon, 3/4 of his body exposed out, and I'm like, why would you build a tank with armor and you're going to stick the gunner exposed where some random infantryman with a pistol can take him out? Like that doesn't make any sense. But hey, it's 90s toy design. I get it. Or 80s, late 80s toy design. But give me a Cobra Rage 2. Base it off the Russian T-14, the new modern Russian battle tank. Super cool looking tank. Really interesting technology with an auto loader cannon that goes into that tank. I think if memory serves, it's like most tanks are a 3 or 4 man crew to operate. That tank I think can run on 2, which the Cobra Rage was a 2-man vehicle also. Let's do it that way. Let's keep it with a 2-man crew. Give me a couple Cobra tankers. Something to go against the new Mobad. GI Joe gets their new Mobad. Cobra gets a battle tank, a main battle tank to go up against it. Head to head makes perfect sense. Again, give me the don't motorize it and give me the details and the scale from a vintage collection type of mold. Would love to see something along those lines. The next thing for me in vehicles, Cobra Mamba 2. Cobra Mamba was the helicopter, the bigger Cobra helicopter, not the Fang, the little one. Give me this, base it on the Mi-24 Hind. If you don't know what the Mi-24 Hind is, please look it up. It is probably in my opinion, like one of the best aircraft of any type ever designed. Just a cool, just bad to the bone Russian helicopter. If you need a tank that flies, that's a Hind. If you need a transport helicopter, that's a Hind. If you need a gunship that will absolutely wreck everything in sight, that's a Hind. If that sounds familiar to you and you're thinking, hey, that sounds like the clone gunship, that's because the clone gunship was based on the Hind. And it shares a lot of the Hind's characteristics and how it's designed. So what I'm saying here is it's a really cool helicopter. It would be beautiful in a GI Joe, as a GI Joe toy. It fit in really well with Cobra. Again, troop train. It'd be basically the opposition. It'd be basically Cobra's Tomahawk, if you will, where it has transport. It has combat. Missiles, gunship type aesthetic, and they're like flying tanks. Like just a super cool vehicle. Would love to see that in a GI Joe toy. The next thing I'll say is, and I'll lump this into kind of a lump category. It was just some updated aircraft. I love the Sky Striker. I love the Sky Striker. The F-14 Tomcat is not in service anymore in our military. Still a wonderful airplane, super cool plane. But let's get a Super Hornet. Let's get an F-15 Eagle, or hey, F-22, F-35. Give me an ace. Let's talk about figures. Give me an ace, an updated ace pilot with the proper equipment, like the new helmets that basically are like supercomputers that you're wearing in a helmet. Give me that gear on an updated ace, put him in F-22 or F-35. Give me that. They did a. Are you guys familiar with the Storm Eagle? Do you remember the Storm Eagle with the toy that got released? So the Storm Eagle came out in the 90s. I can't remember what year it was, but it was a gimmick. It was based off the concept plane that I think ended up becoming the F-22, and it is a water gun that's also a GI Joe vehicle. And even at the time, I remember my mom giving that to me, and I opened it up, and I was like, "Why? You why did you do this? Like, this could have been an amazing plane. Instead, you decided to make it half water gun, half plane, and it's not. It's garbage at both. Like, it's just not well done at either one of those things. And I would desperately love to see an updated GI Joe aircraft based on a modern airframe with an updated ace pilot, fully detailed out. And a 5th gen would be amazing. So an F-22, F-35 would be great. I'd be perfectly content with a Super Hornet or an Eagle too.
I did a quick little search, and it looked like the Storm Eagle that you were talking about came out in 1992.
There you go.
And which would put me just absolutely deep into my Batman the Animated Series era.
Okay.
So,
well, trust me, whatever toys you had from Batman the Animated Series were better than the Storm Eagle, and I say that as a hardcore GI Joe vehicle fan.
And as a hardcore Batman the Animated Series kid, I probably agree.
Yeah. By the way, one of the most iconic Batmobiles ever.
That intro is still just cinema.
It's beautiful.
It's cinema.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Okay, last thing for me. You could say I saved the best for last. Give me a Night Raven 2. Call it a Dark Star if you want to. Base it on the SR-72, the Lockheed Martin SR-72 concept. You saw a version of that flying at the beginning of Top Gun 2, because I think everybody saw Top Gun 2. That's the plane that Tom Cruise is flying. Surely you're familiar with the SR-71. That is what the Night Raven, right there, is based off of. Give me an updated version of that. I want new Cobra Strato Viper pilots. I want 2 pilots, or 1 pilot, 1 operations guy. I want no gimmicks, so don't give me the escape, the reconnaissance fighter. You can kind of see the reconnaissance fighter. Golly, I can't figure out which finger is what.
Well, the audio only people aren't going to be able to see this. But
oh, okay. Well, I got a Night Raven on the wall.
They'll be able to check our Instagram. We'll probably post some.
Try to get a picture there.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a Night Raven hanging up on the wall behind me, and they have a little reconnaissance pod, which was the plane that sat on top of the Night Raven that flew off. And I don't want. Again, I'm not a gimmick guy. Skip that nonsense. Spend all your time. Do the SR-72. Base it on that. Do it right. Make it beautiful. Make it detailed. Give me 2 Strato Vipers that are really well done, really well detailed. Please, we need that. We need to update some of these vehicles. And I realize it's probably not going to happen because that line it's just not super huge right now. But there is a line that is kind of huge right now, and that is the G.I. Joe Classified series. And I know you guys have a lot to talk about on G.I. Joe Classified. I will just say we have 3 versions of the Ram Cycle. We have a Dragonfly. We have a Hiss. We have the Mongoose. We have a wonky one-off motorcycle that the Baroness rides. We have the missile launcher that theoretically gets towed behind the Hiss, but I tow it behind my Stinger. We have a Stinger. We have a Vamp. Give me the dadgum Polar Battle Bear. Give me the Snowmobile, please. Great, cool, iconic, original old school Joe vehicle. Simple design like that. They did it right. Like that vehicle's done right. The 3.5-inch version of that is done right. Give me that in Classified, please. Why not? And with that, I'm going to hand it off to you guys. I know you got a lot to dig into there.
I mean, so you would think I would have a lot to dig into. However, I feel like the Classified team, just kind of knows my Joes and have done a pretty good job of getting me the ones I want. Because I love Beachhead. Like both versions of Beachhead they've come out with are absolutely excellent. And I remember whenever the first one came out, I was like, oh man, like I really want like a retro looking one that looks, like the cartoon movie or like the actual figure. So I actually did a kit bash custom and painted the pants, did every you know, this thing still looks pretty good. And then it's like the GI Joe team over at Hasbro. It's just like, oh, he spent money on doing like assembling parts and painting, and okay, well, watch this. We're just gonna give him exactly what he wanted from the get go. And I still bought it. I'm like, man, I don't regret buying this at all because it's still that good. And
It's
they
beautiful.
they just came out with the retro Duke a little while ago, and I hear they've got a retro Flint, like a retooled retro Flint coming out. So it's an embarrassment of riches. However, there are a couple things, there are a couple Joes that are on my list. One of them would be Mercer because I like that because they did such a good job of him with introducing him with the it wasn't the Rawhides, it was the Renegades because he was one of Slaughter's Renegades in the movie, and I I I thought that.
Rawhides?
No, he was one of Slaughter's Renegades. Remember whenever
Oh
Falcon
yeah,
gets dropped off, the ex Cobra who the ex
yeah,
Cobra
yeah,
Viper who's seen the light. I was like
yeah,
I always thought like that idea is really cool, and his figure looks really really good too. At least like the old one back in the day. So an
yeah.
updated classified Mercer is on my list. And the second on my list, and this is just for my own personal collection, Topside. He's one of like the later, like the late '80s ones, but I remember he was my pocket Joe. Like he was the one that I just somehow had and just always had in my pocket anywhere I went. And there's actually a picture that I took that was hanging up at my grandma's house like my entire life until she passed away. But it was me at some kind of like hot shot like photo booth studio, probably in the Dillards or Sears at the mall. And I think I'm maybe 3 or 5, somewhere around there. And I'm wearing this like little like conductor's like little costume like outfit thing with like little overalls and a little pocket. And in the foreground in front of me is Topside standing up taking the picture with me. And so it was one of those where I've always seen that picture, and I always remember Topside. And I wound up finding one on eBay like a few years ago, and then finding out that they did a collectors club exclusive for the GI Joe 25th anniversary, and that was one that I was like, oh gosh, I gotta have them. So yeah, Topside, and just that's what I've got as far as figures. Switching over to vehicles, I want a Tomahawk with lift ticket, and I want a
Mm.
whale with cutter.
Oh God, God, like oh, oh.
Especially after the vamp with clutch. If they could just do that with cutter and the whale, I'm sold.
Oh, yeah, like inject that straight into my veins. That would be. I cringe to think of the shelf space that would take up, but God bless it, I would, I would do it in a heartbeat. Like, oh man, oof, that'd have to be a HasLab. The whale's pretty big. That'd have to be a HasLab.
I mean, the vamp was solid.
The Vamp was beautiful. Like
Yeah.
I mean, from a scale perspective, like something that big is typically going to have to be relegated into HasLab, which means they would do it right, which is a good thing. But yeah, that's
Well, the
amazing.
problem with the vamp was they just didn't make enough of them.
They didn't. I'm fortunate that my good friend Mike was out on a scouting mission. I believe it was a solo scouting mission, if I'm not mistaken, and found one for me, and we were able to negotiate via phone and take that down. So I again, I didn't get in on the hype on that one early, and then Joe, you had yours over, and when you got it, and you were opening it up, and I was like, oh, oh my god, this is amazing. If the Alley Viper hadn't done it, that would have done it. So I guess it was bound to happen one way or the other. But
Also, one
yeah.
of the best things about the Vamp was the clutch figure that comes with it.
Oh, he's so good.
He was so like I was never a clutch guy. He was never even like in my periphery, but that Vamp with that clutch
That
just
clutch
made me a
definitely
believer.
inspired some of the Transformer G.I. Joe RPG that I do. I looked at that figure and I was like, oh man, okay.
Yeah.
But what I liked about Tyler when that came out was he instantly just cut his losses and was like, hey, I missed this. I don't see this going down.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson as a collector that it can be expensive to learn.
Yeah.
Especially if it's one of those things that you're going to get and you're gambling, essentially. As far as mine goes, I had mentioned the rawhides earlier. So Big Lob, I don't know if he's been mentioned.
Yeah, he has not.
He's the only one that hasn't been done. Also, G.I. Joe Renegades. I'd like to see a classified series line of G.I. Joe Renegades because I liked the 30th anniversary version that came out, and there was a lot of guest appearances because what I liked about that show was they kept their main cast smaller. And so you really got to go on the adventure with that specific group. You got to go with the Renegades. But along the way, you got to meet Law and Order, Airtight, Barbecue, and classified series based on that would be cool because I'd get another Law and Order. But I'd also get an Airtight, and the Baroness style was really cool looking. The Zartan was really cool looking. And I'm not a big Cobra guy, but that'd be cool. Also, there was a Snow Job episode, and Snow Job was one of my favorites. So it'd be just another excuse to get figures that I liked. And I really liked that cartoon. But I'm going to throw some Tiger Force because I'm all about some Tiger Force in classified. I like a Tiger Force Jinx and a Tiger Force Lifeline. Those are the two that I would really like in Tiger Force.
Lifeline, yes.
You gotta say Tiger Force Shipwreck with the disco shirt.
Man, my 3 3/4, that's enough for me. But
you gotta
man,
have the full set, though.
Jinx is my top 5, and having that would be really cool in a classified series. That's what I got.
You guys, so I gotta say, the deep cuts on the figs have inspired me here. Give me classified Quinn, if you guys are familiar with Quinn from the
comic, yeah.
Comics, yeah. Underappreciated, super cool character, and give me classified Keelhaul. We can't have
Keelhaul.
I don't feel like we can get a classified flag because we'd basically have to move into it. So
would you still get it?
You know what? In this housing economy,
I have a big shop, so maybe I guess I could probably pull it off, but it'd be so staggeringly big. But give me the Keelhaul, and Joe, you've inspired me when you mentioned classified whale. Like I didn't even think about that as a possibility. Give me a classified snowcat to go with that, please.
Ooh. Yes.
And you get frostbite with that too.
Yeah, I absolutely want the classified frostbite. 100%. 100% I do. Yeah. So, boy, I need more shells.
If there's going to be a classified Sky Striker, might as well make it a classified Night Force Sky Striker.
What are you doing to him? What are you doing to him?
The night boomer is.
That is going to be one of those things that I know I'll never buy, but man, I would like to see it out in public once.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that there's got to be a line somewhere, and I don't think that I can cross that line for what that sells for as much as I want it. I want to have all the Sky Strikers. Like there's a one came out from San Diego Comic Con. I don't remember if it was 2020, 2021. It was fairly recently, but it was a Skyforce Sky Striker. So you got the chrome in the 3 3/4 inch scale Sky Striker that they released, and those are not cheap, but they're within the realm of possibility. So that's definitely on my list of things that I need to. Which we'll probably have an episode here coming up where we're talking about the things that we're chasing. But
Yeah.
I'd love to get that. I think the Night Boomer is probably maybe the only vehicle that they actually made that I might have to say I don't know that I can pull the trigger on that. They're just too expensive.
Yeah,
and you really
definitely.
don't want to buy one that's not complete because the parts are they're all specific to that and they're so rare.
Yeah, that's why it'd be really cool to maybe have like a sticker kit or release a regular version and then do a repaint.
Yeah, if they did it, dude, yeah, all day. It wouldn't be quite the same as they did with the Ghostbusters Ecto 1, but I mean, the Ghostbusters Ecto 1, they found a way to package both the Ecto 1 from the original Ghostbusters movie and the Ecto 1A from Ghostbusters 2. Like, they found a way to take that same mold, and really, you buy once and you get technically both. You can set it up however you want based on the decals and the roof swaps out. So, a little bit different, but, they've done similar things in the past.
Yeah.
By the way, I did a quick check on the Vamp, classified Vamp, selling for just under $300 right now. So definitely made the right move on locking that down when we did.
Yeah. That's a tough lesson to learn, but it's better to learn it early than late.
So are we all wrapped up with GI Joes?
I'm spent.
I think so. I'm ready to move on to Transformers.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's roll out and talk about our Transformers. Somebody want to lead us off? Because if not, I will.
Listen, let me do this, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Let me just say, what would have been on my list here is a Studio Series 86 Devastator, and guess what? It doesn't need to be on my list because it's freaking happening. So,
Just
thank you.
Yes.
And also, damn it. Sorry.
yeah, it's okay.
But anyway, yeah, that's I'll pass it back to you guys now.
Hasbro messed up in the sense that they came out with that 86 Gears, the Studio Series 86 Gears, or Brawn, and then the Transformers Legacy Gears based on that same mold. And then they came out of nowhere, seemed like, with an all new Beachcomber that was deluxe class, not little. So he was like a proper deluxe class Beachcomber that is just lovely, just excellent from top to bottom. And now, I want more. I want more deluxe class figures of the mini bots. Specifically, I want a new Sea Spray, I want Wind Charger, and I want Warpath. But I would like Warpath to be, since he's a tank, I feel like him as Voyager class makes more sense. Because I like the idea of him being slightly bigger. Because that's how he was in the Transformers War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron game. And it just, he just was super cool in that, super fun. But I really want a Sea Spray and Wind Charger Deluxe class, completely retooled to that scale.
The Golden Lagoon episode with Sea Spray, and there was one of them that was with them that was Tyler's favorite, the A10.
Yeah, Power Glide.
Power Glide, yeah.
Power Glide. Yeah, if you do that, then I think they should throw Power Glide in there as well.
Well, you had me at Power Glide.
bringing it up. I'm surprised that we haven't got this already. But a gaming series Fall of Cybertron jazz. And again, I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't even expecting toys or figures based on the Fall of Cybertron or War of Cybertron games, but they messed up and already did Optimus Prime. They really messed up and did Sideswipe, and now they just need to just bring it home and give me my Jazz.
I'd like them to do some like custom parts, like with custom colors, like a build your own kit, like they had in PvP, where you could build your own version, mix and match, and make your squad.
Oh, like the
Cool.
multiplayer menu from Fall of Cybertron,
Yeah.
where you have like each of the
Yeah.
classes up and you get to make your own.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
What else you got, Jofus?
That's all I had, because mostly all the other stuff is just reissues and recolors.
Yeah. So mine was very similar to Tyler with the Devastator. I like combiners. I have dipped my toe into the combiner wars. My releases would be the Age of the Primes. They just essentially continue with, what they've done with Devastator, what they've done with Superion. And my favorite is Defensor, with one of my favorite Transformers hotspot. There's a helicopter named Blades. Like they're all really, really cool. Like first aid. I'd really like to see a full release of those. Then Computron, Grimlock's one of my top 5, and I really love that episode with Computron. And then, man, Predaking.
Oof.
Predaking is just terrifying looking.
He's so terrifying.
And just menacing and primal. And I really think that'd be cool if we could get an Age of the Primes treatment on those 3. I know those are combiners, but I mean, it's my list. So these are the 3 combiners that I would want, on top of what they already have. I think it's a really fun line.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, with the Age of the Primes, like, yeah, we're getting the 13 primes, but I also like and appreciate how they're just not holding to that, and they're kind of like doing some other stuff, like the Generation 2 recolor for the blue Grimlock. Like that's the one I had growing up, and I'm like I missed out on the first one, and I'm really
remember
glad.
you having the blue Grimlock and then the green one. I don't remember which one the green one was.
The green one was Slug or Slag. It was, yeah, the Triceratops. I
know you played with those things at Volume.
I wore them out. Yeah, a lot of good stuff coming from Transformers team. With that, I'm really looking forward to the Age of the Prime stuff they've got coming out. I mean, the Devastator alone.
Yeah,
that's going to be outstanding. I mean, I don't know if anything can top Studio Series 86 Optimus Prime. It's so good. It is so good. But I'm super excited for Devastator. Like very high.
I don't know. Maybe the Ultra Magnus from the 86 series, right, Joseph?
If they would ever just reissue it. Oh, can't find that thing anywhere, and it haunts me. Because I think I might have mentioned it the previous episode, but that missing out on that 86 whenever I saw it in the store haunts me.
When I was making my list of the Transformers, I always go back to my top 5, and I was like, man, and I came to the conclusion I'm really lucky on the Transformers stuff, because I've got RCs, I've got blasters, I've got a really cool looking Mirage, Sunstreaker. On my list, I have 1A and 1B, so it's really more like a top 10. But I just can't tolerate, giving that number 6. So, but like I've got blasters, I've got Sunstreakers, I've got side swipes. So,
what do you got? What do you got for us, Tyler?
Transformers wise, guys, I really don't. I mean, I wasn't kidding when I said like what I wanted was an '86 Devastator, and we're getting it. So I'm super excited about that. You know, I don't. When I was growing up, and you know, we'll probably have another episode where we talk about some of this stuff. But you know, I wasn't deep into comic books growing up. I did watch the Transformers series and loved it. But I didn't have a lot of Transformers toys. I had some, and I loved them, but I didn't have a lot. And I think the reason I didn't have a lot is because I had a tendency to take them apart. And when I say take them apart, I mean I'm pulling the screws and the pins out, and taking them apart.
You
And
made my neck itch.
Settle down,
calling,
Sid.
calling my papa and being like, "Hey man, help me fix this." And you know,
Oh god.
Papa could fix anything. You know, granted, you know, I was very little, but Papa could fix anything. He couldn't fix those. Like putting that stuff back together, and who can blame him? Like when you take the pins and the screws out and you have all these pieces, like you can't put that back together. So I think that's why I didn't get a lot of Transformers toys, because I tended to take them all the way apart. So you know, what I know is the movie. That's why the Studio Series '86 hits so hard for me. Like those are the Transformers I know and love. Hot Rod, probably my all-time favorite. Optimus Prime, probably number 2. Transformers is one of the few franchises where you'll see where I'm pretty heavily biased towards the good guys. Normally, I tend to, you know, Star Wars, I'm a Sith guy. I love the Cobra stuff from GI Joe.
Ugh.
Like, you know, it's just not unusual. But in Transformers, I'm pretty hardcore on the, you know, Optimus Prime, Hot Rod, and Grimlock. Those are my boys in Transformers. But Devastator, I mean, giant construction vehicles are already big. They combine together to form this giant guy. His name is Devastator. That's flipping awesome. So
Yeah.
long story short, I'm getting what I wanted. You know, and the reality is, if we had this conversation a year ago or a year and a half ago, the E-wing from Star Wars would have been on my list, and we got that. So, you know, dreams can come true. You know, you
Yeah.
can get some of this stuff that you guys, you know, that we're wanting for. And the only thing I would say is, you know, those of you that are listening, that are watching, we want to know what you guys want. We want to know what you guys want to see. I mean, there's tons of stuff that we didn't talk about. You know, we talked about some major franchises. We didn't talk about Master of the Universe here. We didn't talk about any Thundercat stuff here. I mean, there's, you know, we could go on and on and on about stuff we haven't talked about. So we would love
We didn't
to
talk
hear.
about Mask.
We didn't talk about Mask, right? We didn't talk about any Exo Squad. Like, we didn't talk about any of that stuff. And
maybe there's some cool stuff that's come out since the 80s or 90s that we don't know about. Hit us up. Let us know in the comments. Tell us what we're missing out on. We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, please share that with us, folks. Absolutely.
We've been talking your ears off enough. We're gonna let y'all get back to what you were doing, but we sure appreciate y'all hanging out and talking toys with us. I have been Joe, and
I was Tyler.
I'm Mike.
And we will see you in the next one. Until then, thanks for helping us figure it out.